Disney Star Wars shills defend Leslye Headland. And most of the Disney shills kind of pulled the Amanda Stenberg thing. They're just like, I don't want nothing to do with this. Amanda Stenberg, what she got off Instagram, right? She left social media right after Leslye Headland, opened her mouth and attacked the fans, attacked content creators. Amanda Stenberg got the hell out of there. And so did most of the Disney shills. I did not hear very many. I was only able to find 2 Disney shills who defended Leslye Headland over this. And the first one, of course, surprise, surprise, is a guy who loves fake Star Wars. What a shock. What a shock, right? So let's hear. I got my list here. Let's hear what a guy who loves fake Star Wars has to say.
Why? And while you do that, let's read this article. Okay.
Oh God.
Leslye Headland says
Oh God, her fucking face. Scroll down.
was
A guy who loves
not
fake Star Wars.
surprised at the Acolyte's cancellation. Okay. So she understood it. She just didn't know that it would be this quick, that it would be canceled for its second season, and that it would be so public, the cancellation of the second season. I was surprised at how they handled it, but once I was getting particular phone calls about the reactions and the criticisms and the viewership, I was like, okay, the writing's on the wall for sure. So throughout the course of the first season of The Acolyte, the viewership numbers did fall drastically.
No shit.
Of all the hate it got online. And
no,
it was on.
No, that is false. The numbers dropped because the show fucking sucks. The numbers for The Acolyte dropped. Do you guys remember in the chat? Do you guys remember what episode that the numbers really dropped? It was he shoved his throbbing lightsaber into her face episode. Remember that? Remember that, you guys? What on the auto narration of the episode? That was the one where that was Oshamir. That was where the Disney show, the sick freaks were shipping the characters. I believe that was episode 6. That was when people dropped off the show. That episode was so bad that even Chlamydia Burns Grace Randolph couldn't defend the show anymore. Remember? That was where the show fell off. That even the people that wanted to like it, not all, but a lot of the people that wanted to like the show, couldn't continue to go on with it anymore after that episode. And this guy's going to bring up in a little bit here. He's going to bring up in a little bit the, it was a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes before the show even came out. Okay. And he said just now that it was the hate. It was the hate that the show was getting online that caused the numbers to drop. So if that were true, the show was getting the hate before it even came out. The show was getting the hate when the first trailer came out. As he's going to tell you here shortly, it had a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. So why did the show have a more positive viewership at the beginning then? If it was the hate, you would think that it would have just had a steady low viewership. Because the thing is, despite how people like myself and all of you and so many others, we knew that the show was going to be bad. We were correct in that the show was going to be bad. Even many of the people that wanted it to be good couldn't defend it any longer, even though a lot of them did. And we got those videos on the channel. Go check them out if you haven't missed them. Several videos of the shills defending the Acolyte. But it was so bad that it got canceled. And he's going to bring that up here shortly, the 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. So again, that's not why the show got canceled. The show got canceled because it truly was bad, and they knew there was no recovering from it.
First season of The Acolyte, the viewership numbers did fall drastically because of all the hate it got online. It was on and off sort of the, Nielsen charts, the viewership charts on and off here or there. I think episode 5 was on it, and the finale was on it, and the premiere was on it, but the other episodes were not. So it didn't do the greatest. However, and she's going to say this in a second too, it's hard to judge a story by its first season. Let's take a
It's hard to judge a story by its first season. No, it is not. I can judge a season of a show as a season of a show. You know, lots of shows are just one season by design. I'm sure this guy probably judges a show like Andor, or judges a show like Skeleton Crew, or even judges The Acolyte. Remember, this guy said that The Acolyte was a great show. It's easy for him to judge the show based solely upon one season. I think what he actually means here is you can't say the show sucks after just one season, but I can say that the show is great after just one season. You see how it works with these shills? Isn't it the point of stories to intrigue you at the start? Star Wars became huge because it was great at the beginning, and that goes for every franchise. Yes, Guy Who Loves Fake Star Wars is talking about how you can't judge a season of a show. You can't hate a season of the show. You have to give the show 2 seasons or 3 seasons. George Lucas did it in one movie, and it all started with that first movie. If that first movie was Acolyte level, we wouldn't have Star Wars today. That's a great point, Jake, as well. Thank you. We're all just toxic. You're toxic in the chat. I'm toxic.
So here's Leslye Headland, by the way, on the set.
Oh, God. Gosh, she's so fucking ugly. Jesus, get this hag off my screen. Okay, let's jump to the next one. I can't even look at Leslye Headland. Imagine all the people that posed in this photograph, and like look at Eric. I think Eric Voss enjoys Leslye Headland's stank. Carly King's right there, and I think Eric Voss is probably has the perfect whiff of her fucking ass and her fucking vagina, which is probably hairy as fuck, and there are probably some indescribable odors coming from that. Probably, I wouldn't be saying, Dave Filoni probably smells like a dog, but that, and I think Eric Voss likes it. I think Eric Voss really likes the odors emanating from the Headland.
Imagine we didn't get Andor season 2 that we got this year, the peak of all peaks of Star Wars.
Didn't you just say that we can't? Didn't you just say, a guy who loves fake Star Wars, that you can't judge a show based off of one season? And you're calling Andor season 2 the peak of all peak in Star Wars? Oh, wait, he's saying it's good, chat, so it's okay. He's saying that it's good, chat, therefore it's okay. Andor is not the peak of all peak Star Wars, by the way.
The greatest single things ever in Star Wars. Not seasons, not projects, just greatest Star Wars of all time. Andor season 2 is towards the top for many people. Imagine we didn't get that because they listened to the fans who hated Andor season 1. Because there was a lot of hate for Andor season 1. There was a little bit of hate for Andor season 2 too, but
there was not as much hate for Andor season 1 as there was the Acolyte. Again, I'm not a fan of Andor. I didn't like Andor at all, but even I can admit that Andor's not anywhere near as bad as the Acolyte. The Acolyte is seriously, Disney canceled it 30 days after the show, after the finale of the show. They wouldn't do that if it was objectively a good show. They wouldn't do that if the same number of people if the same number of people hated the Acolyte as hated the first season of Andor, we'd be getting a season 2 of the Acolyte.
Wasn't nearly as bad. So whether you like the Acolyte or not, that's besides the point. What if it became something you did like? Things change. Characters develop. You go on these things called arcs, story arcs. You know, how characters can develop from one thing to the next, how Anakin Skywalker can go from a whiny...
These characters go on things, and it's the job, a guy who loves fake Star Wars, it's the job of the showrunners to get people invested in those arcs in a first season. Okay, look at Game of Thrones. The first season of Game of Thrones, remember Game of Thrones? Remember all the shills that were comparing the Acolyte to Game of Thrones? Remember J.I. Acob? I got videos on that as well. Remember Game of Thrones, the first season of Game of Thrones? All it basically did was it sent every character, it introduced the characters and sent them on their way. And it was great. It's the job of the showrunners. We were invested. It's the job of Leslye Headland, the showrunner, to get us invested in these characters and want us to see more of them. And she wrote a show that was so terrible that it lost 2/3 of its audience after episode 6. All right, now this next one I have circled, so brace yourselves, you guys, because it's probably going to get bad.
And the prequels, specifically with the lightsabers. So having a lot of lightsabers in a duel, much like the prequel trilogy, not a connection to the originals, which most people, connect to the most. There was a strong backlash online to the series. You can say that again. That's probably the understatement of the year right there. There was a strong backlash to the series, with some content creators campaigning against it even before it aired. Let's not forget, it came into its premiere episode without anybody having seen the show, with a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Now, again, we talked about this earlier. This guy said that the hate was what caused the show to drop midway through the season. But a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, audience score on Rotten Tomatoes before the show even airs, that's a lot of hate, isn't it? So again, why didn't the hate kill it at the beginning?
Hadn't even seen a single episode, and this show had a 13%.
And you know what? And you know what else, chat? Those people, that audience score for once on Rotten Tomatoes, it was 100% accurate. That was about what the show, honestly, it should be lower, but Rotten Tomatoes, this one time, got it right. And it got it right before the show even came out.
Talk about giving it a chance. Talk about, letting it.
Yep. So you see, again, you just got to give it a chance. You got to give Disney Star Wars a chance, you guys. You're not allowed to watch a trailer and say, yeah, fuck this, and not watch it. You're not allowed to watch a shitty trailer. And if you recall, those 2 trailers were terrible. You're not allowed to watch a trailer and be like, you know what? This show's going to suck. You're not allowed to do that. They're allowed to watch a trailer and say, this show's going to be great. Go watch any Shill trailer on the channel. You'll see these people doing that all the time. They're allowed to be positive, but we're not allowed to be negative.
Breathe a little bit, giving it a couple episodes to maybe get into. Nope. Not even a single frame. Not even a single scene. 13%.
That's false. That's false. We got 2 trailers. And remember, they released the first scene of the show in that fucking Phantom Menace re-release. Remember when they released the first scene from the Acolyte, when they re-released the Phantom Menace? I'm sure nobody went to that, but they did show the scene already. They did show scenes of the show to the public before it came out. So that's false, what he just says here.
Giving it a couple episodes to maybe get into. Nope. Not even a single frame. Not even a single scene.
That's a lie.
13%. Well, there were a select few with legitimate criticisms for the show, which there are. Absolutely. I mean, there's legit criticisms for all Star Wars projects. Some outlets didn't fit that category. Leslye Headland was aware of those channels and said that she followed many Star Wars content creators for years and supported them on Patreon.
Now, chat, I'll give you one guess as to who Leslye Headland supports on Patreon. I'll give you all one guess. Who do you think Leslye Headland supports on Patreon? I think it's pretty obvious.
Even before becoming involved with Lucasfilm. With various channels turning against the Acolyte, she came to recognize that some of the reactions were not targeting her, but were simply out to make money for themselves rather than engage in standard criticisms. this became amplified to the 10th level. Maybe, no, turn it up to 11. To the 11th level when the Acolyte came out. There were already a lot of people online making a lot of money crapping on Star Wars.
Oh, here we go, you guys. This is their go-to against us. This is the number one thing. Roka says it. Sexplain said it recently. Eric Voss said it. This is their go-to, that we do what we're doing for money. And they do what they do for access. So nobody's perfect. The only thing is we're not doing it for the money. We're doing it because we're fans and we hate Disney Star. I can't come on here and do a 2-hour live stream on Star Wars or the MCU or anything else unless I'm passionate about it. I can't be as passionate as I am on these live streams if I don't love real Star Wars.
People make a lot of money crapping on Star Wars because online, what's going to get clicks is controversial things. What gets comments, what gets people going in the comments section?
You know what else gets clicks? Actual good content, and not doing the same thing, coming on here and reading 2 or 3 articles every stream and talking about how the Mandalorian and Grogu is going to make $1 billion at the box office.
More than anything is controversial things. So when the Acolyte came out, it was like this, oh, for all those people, because they just had so much content to make, just absolutely crapping all over this show. It was like making money, like it was like raining cats and dogs. That doesn't make sense. It was they had a tree of money, and they were just watering it with the Acolyte. Acolyte hate, Acolyte hate, Acolyte hate. And hey, if you like doing that, if you like going to bed at night and feeling happy for yourself that you shit on Star Wars all day, good for you. I mean, that's to each their own, I suppose. But
this guy is seething. This guy is seething underneath. It makes me so sick that people do this and they get more views than I do, despite the fact that I have 189,000 fake subscribers. It does feel great. Yes, King Chris, it does feel great. So Force Center. The guy on the left must have a really bad internet connection. They are defending Leslye Headland as well, kicking off at 19 minutes.
It was they don't want to lightning. They at that point, Leslye Headland even talks about the interview. It's like, I wish we hadn't been coming out in an election year, and I think they didn't want a lightning rod. I think
so. He's talking about why they canceled the show. A new excuse from the Shills. It came out in an election year, and they didn't want to have the conversation because of political ramifications.
They don't want to lightning. They at that point, Leslye Headland even talks about the interview. It's like, I wish we hadn't been coming out in an election year, and I think they didn't want a lightning rod. I think they didn't want to either have to push back very publicly against the sexist and racist, and they didn't want to have that. They just didn't want. I don't think they wanted to have the battle publicly.
Disney was afraid that it might hurt Camel Toe Harris politically for them to come out and challenge the racist and sexist. Oh, the Shills never cease to amaze, do they? Never cease to amaze.
Viable career choice that I'm going to continue to participate in. But the societal impact, I think, is starting to be felt with some
this Ken guy. He gets really triggered. And you're going to see a little bit of that here shortly.
Stuff she's talking about. That, the amount of people I run into who are like, I didn't watch that. I heard it was bad. That was the conversation I was having about Game of Thrones. Someone,
stop comparing the Acolyte to Game of fucking Thrones. Jesus Christ. Game of Thrones had 4 really good seasons.
Family member saying, "Oh, I didn't start that. I wanted to, but people said I'll be disappointed in the end." I was like, first of all, no, it's not the case. But also,
I don't know if this guy's talking about the Acolyte or Game of Thrones, but yes, you will be disappointed by the ending of Game of Thrones.
how do you
Or-
know that? Like, that's their take of it, and they're probably just looking at some YouTube reactor that didn't like it. Like, people aren't forming their opinions anymore. They're not engaging with the art anymore. We
You
know.
see, here we go again with this fucking people didn't give it a chance. 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Their favorite YouTubers said it was bad. How many people, lots of people, watch reviews or YouTubers who they identify with, have a lot of the same tastes as they do, and they trust what they have to say? If they think it's bad, they say, okay, and they don't watch it. There's nothing wrong with that. Why does everybody have to watch your precious Acolyte and judge it for themselves? Like, are you financially invested or some shit? It's if the show were good, if the show were actually good, it would have shut some of these people up. It would have garnered a better reputation. Now, again, I don't like Andor, but a lot of these people who are very critical of Disney Star Wars, except for us, of course, but a lot of these other people who are very critical of Disney Star Wars praised Andor. Still, though, nobody watched it, of course, because, it was boring as hell. But a lot of them praised it, and it, at the very least, did a lot better than The Acolyte because it was a better show. It was a better show. Again, I don't like it, but it's a better show than the goddamn Acolyte.
Media literacy is dead, blah, blah, blah. But like, why don't you just watch it yourself? Why don't?
Because it's 8 episodes and each episode's like 45 minutes long. They don't want to waste 6 hours of their life watching a show that's going to be terrible.
You do that? And the amount of people, I didn't watch Solo. Why? I heard it was bad. Who told you that? I heard there was reshoots. Why does that matter? Well,
because it's usually not a good sign. By the way, fun fact, you guys, I never watched Solo until I decided to do the Shill movie for it. So when I prepped, excuse me, I got hiccups. When I prepped the Shill movie for, Solo, that was the first time I actually watched it. I successfully boycotted that movie, like a lot of people did. Ken here getting a little bit hashtag triggered.
Collider, like I was on the front lines of realizing, you and Jennifer and everything, but because I was more regularly over at Collider, like I was on the front lines of realizing this is no longer about Star Wars. This is a culture war. These aren't fans of Star Wars complaining. Some are. And if that's you.
No, I would say nearly all of them are. I would say nearly all of the people that shit on Disney Star Wars on YouTube are legitimate fans. Nearly all of them are. You guys just don't watch them, and you guys just look at a thumbnail and get triggered and have little meltdowns like the one we're about to listen to here right now.
No, that's you. You don't need to say it's you. But there's other this, and I was like, oh, the bullets are whizzing over my head.
Bullets.
It's different now.
Bullets. What's that clip from what's the thing from South Park? Words are like bullets. Words are like bullets. So now ripping on Disney Star Wars is bullets. I don't really think that's an appropriate thing to say, honestly, considering what's been going on a lot currently, current events wise. Bullets are bullets, Shill. Words are not fucking bullets.
Gamergate never ended. Gamergate still goes on to this day. And I mentioned it to people, and they go, what's that? So a lot of people are unplugged. Leslye is plugged in. And she's spitting some truths. And that's why this
Leslye spitting some truths, you guys. Hell yeah.
Spawned out of your question of going to like, what's our place in all this and how do we approach it? I don't know. Celebratory and community.
Yeah, I think, community is important. I think Rad's RFC puts it in a great, concise.
Oh, you got to love the Shill meltdowns. Favorite part of doing what we do, isn't it?
Perspective of what is the show saying about the Jedi? But a lot of people,
what is that? What is that toboggan he wear? I swear, is that a trans? Is that the official trans color? Chat. What is that like light purple T-bog or beanie or whatever this guy's wearing. And why is he putting his fucking fingers in his mouth? The fuck were you touching?
In our comments have different life experiences, and they saw themselves in the witches. They saw themselves in.
Oh my God. The only people that saw themselves in the witches was Leslye Headland and her hideous looking wife.
May and Ocean, how they were treated by both the Jedi.
That's the reason everybody hated those characters, because they were self-inserts for Leslye Headland, just like Rey was a Kathleen Kennedy self-insert. And all these characters from these shows, Ahsoka's another one, Reva's another one. All these characters are just self-inserts of the fucking showrunners. And no better example of that than the fucking Acolyte.
People, in our
Take
comments
your
have
fingers
different
out of
life
your mouth.
experiences, and they saw themselves in the witches.
You're old enough to be my fucking father. I shouldn't be here parenting you, Ken, and telling you to take your fucking fingers out of your mouth when you're on fucking camera.
Saw themselves in May and Ocean, how they were treated by both the Jedi and the Sith organizations. And it was so wonderful for me to be able to see the Acolyte from a different perspective that isn't my own. In the Acolyte, I feel like is a big cry of, this is how I see the world. This is how I feel. Does anybody else feel that way? Does anybody else?
That right there, what this guy just said, that right there is the exact reason why this show failed. Because nobody wants that in Star Wars. Nobody cares what an ugly lesbian thinks of a galaxy far, far away and injecting that into a Star Wars show.
Not feel that way and want to learn and understand how I feel. Does anybody else want to taste my sandwich? To use General Cameroni's metaphor.
Gotta love the free speech Rumble chat.
That should be our thumbnail. Do you want to taste our Star Wars sandwich? You've said
No,
you've said
I
as
don't
always.
No, I don't want to taste your Star Wars sandwich. I don't think anybody wants to taste your Star Wars sandwich, and I don't think anyone wants to taste Leslye Headland's sandwich, except for Eric Voss, of course, in Voss's closet. The only thing that could tempt Eric Voss out of Voss's closet.
Out there who have their heart in the right place, but maybe legitimately don't like something and express that. We have opportunists who make money by hating things. Even if you liked it, the algorithm is going to reward you if you hate it or put a questioning face on your thumbnail. And then there are,
what do I say every week with these guys? It's the thumbnails. The thumbnails are what, and take your fucking fingers out of your mouth, Ken. It's the thumbnails that trigger the hell out of these people. Just validating it yet again.
by hating things. Even if you liked it, the algorithm is going to reward you if you hate it or put a questioning face.
But real quick, do you know who is going to reward you for liking things and overly praying them? Why? Disney Lucasfilm, Disney Corporation in general, James Gunn. There are rewards to being overly positive, Shill, but they're not going to talk about that
on your thumbnail. And then there are the just straight up bad actors who care nothing about media and are just using art as a pressure point to sow division. And that is, that's a fact. Going back to, it's in the documentary where Rian Johnson's talking about, like, hey, I heard
the bad actors, but even they cling to some, well, I'm just a fan, but you're so adjacent to the bigger problems and you're so politically.
Okay, I remember this part when I went through it earlier. So what he's saying is there are fans who have criticisms, even good criticisms, acceptable criticisms, but they're still at fault too because they're giving content to the racist and the sexist. And that's the ridiculous point that Ken Fingersniffer is about to make.
You're so adjacent to the bigger problems and you're so politically and culturally and socially, and you're leaving. I always say you're leaving the back door open to racism, sexism, homophobia, whatever it might be, and you don't care that your foot's there, and you don't curate your audience, and you're no longer just talking about Rose Tico as a character. You are talking about the bigger social issue, cultural issue, pop culture issue around it that became a news story around Kelly Marie Tran and the character. But you were letting all the bad actors in and then just acting like you're not responsible for it. And I think that's been my biggest gripe over the years.
Poor Ken. Ken's sad. Ken is sad. I accept full responsibility for it, and I encourage it. There's nothing wrong with trolling. There's nothing wrong with telling fucking jokes. These are fucking millionaires. These are fucking millionaires. Kelly Marie, he mentioned Kelly Marie Tran. Kelly Marie Tran is a fucking millionaire. And if she can't take the heat, and by the way, the bullying, quote unquote, of Kelly Marie Tran was completely overblown. And yes, Darth Ghostface is right. Kelly Marie Tran never said she left social media because of harassment and bullying from Star Wars fans. It's exactly right. But of course, they don't talk about that. It's just everybody is put into this victim mentality and everything. We rip on everybody. We rip on each other, for Christ's sakes. So just stop being a pussy, Force Center. That's all you got to do.